Kathy Wagner, Director of Horticulture, and thank you for buying one of our planting kits. So sadly, we are not able to get together for a planting workshop this year, but you have everything you need to make some awesome planters. So if you've purchased the trio of planters, whether it's for sun or shade, I'm going to walk you through the steps to have some awesome looking planters in no time. You should have received with your kit a copy of our schematic. It lists all the plants that you received in your kit, and it gives you the actual layout here for how the plants are going to be ordered in your pots. So now I'm going to go step by step and show you how the plants will go into your pots. Okay, so for my demo, I'm going to show you how to do the trio for sun, but it's the same steps for doing it for shade, just different plants. So you see I've got my planters already prepped with the soil. I've got pine bark nuggets on the bottom. I've got some nice potting soil up to about 3 inches from the top. So make sure you're kind of in this at this moment. If you have some Osmocote, this is a good time to put a little bit of slow release fertilizer, mix it into this top little layer here so that all your little planties will be ready to grow very soon. So basically what we're starting with is our big three, and in this one our big three is the Cordyline, the Coleus, and the Angelonia. Those are going to be our 3-star players. So I'm going to squeeze the pot until the plant gently comes out, remove the tag. I'm just going to very gently open up my plant here and set it down on the soil level. For most of these, you're pretty close to at the right level, just popping it in there, but you can also clear away a little bit of soil depending how full your pot is. You'll see you have some little cracks in there, so we're going to want to use some of our extra soil that you should always have handy in a bucket to sort of start backfilling some of these cracks now. I like to do that because it's easier to get my hand in there than when it's all the way full. So again, in my diagram, I've got Cordyline, I've got my Coleus, and my Angelonia. In the front here, I'm going to have this cute little Profusion Cherry Zinnia. So again, a little squeeze out of the pot, very gently going to break that up. This is a little bit of a smaller pot, so make sure that, that the top level of your plants is the same, that they're meeting each other. So if one is a little bit deeper or bigger pot, then you're going to have to dig it out more. If this one is a little bit smaller, you might have to put a little bit of soil back in. And again, I'm going to add a little bit of soil right around it preemptively just because it's easier to get in there now. Squeeze next to it. On either side, on this side I'm going to have my Ipomoea, my sweet potato vine, and on this side I'm going to have my Calibrachoa. So here we go. This is Georgia Heart Red, which is a really fun warm purple. I'm going to break up the roots just a little bit. It's okay to get things dirty here. Now this one has a little bit bigger root ball, so I'm actually going to dig a little bit out. Your edge plants, remember we like to kind of cheat them over at a 45-degree angle so they start dangling right away. That kind of fakes a little bit of maturity in your containers right off the bat. Now I've got some purple lavender blue Calibrachoa, Million Bells here. Again, cracking it open, and it's going to sit right in this spot here along the front edge. So I've got my front there facing you, which for me is the back, so it's a little bit the opposite. But either way, the point is you're kind of working from one side to the other. And then back here behind my Coleus, I've got this little Lysimachia, Creeping Jenny. So we'll take that out, tuck it in here, make sure that it's trailing over the edge. I've got a big soil gap here, so I'm just going to go ahead and start filling a little bit of the soil in there. Watch that breeze and blow your stuff away. And then we've got a Pink Star Calibrachoa. This is really fun. It's got the nice little stripe to it. Pink Star Calibrachoa is going in the other back corner. So really what we're doing back here, we're just trying not to leave our Cordyline all in the lonesome. Even though this is the back of the pot, we're going to have some nice spillers back here that you'll sort of be able to see from the front, and you'll certainly be able to see as you're, you know, if this is going on by your front door, or if it's going somewhere you're going to walk by, you'll still get glimpses of the back side, which is why we don't neglect it. We want to put some hanging, dangling plants in the back there. And now I'm just feeling around with my fingers, finding any little air pockets, any little cracks and crevices, literally using my finger to poke down. I'm not just smushing everything down or piling a bunch of extra soil on top. I want to get my fingers in the cracks and make sure that everything's backfilled properly. And then I go, my very last step, I like to go just around the edge and make sure we've got a little bit of a lip around the edge so that when I go to water it, all the water does not just spill over the edge. And there we've got our very first largest planter done. Okay, so now we're moving on to our medium pot. I'm just going to move my diagram over where I can see it. We're going to do another Coleus, but this time we're going to use a darker leafed coleus. This is Vino, because you always have to have a little wine with your planting class. So this is our Vino coleus. And that's going to go off to one side here. Again, I dig out a little bit just to make sure that we're at that right level. I want my plants to be about an inch below the edge of the pot. Next to my Vino, I'm going to put this nice big pink begonia. Crack it open, make a little hole, stick it in. So this plant, this pot is a little bit smaller, so it's only going to have 4 plants in it after our begonia. So we're getting sort of repetition of colors, but not actual symmetry, as you'll notice. So now this one's going to have a Lysimachia too, but instead of being on the back side, it's going to be on the front side. So you're sort of getting that repetition of colors between, you know, the purples, the pinks. So we don't have to be symmetrical to have good balance between all of our pots, as we've talked about before if you've ever done my gardening workshop with the trio. And then we have our purple Calibrachoa again in the middle. So that goes a lot quicker, right? We'll fill in some of our cracks, just taking big handfuls of soil from our stock pot over here, filling it out, all the little nooks and crannies. And again, we're starting with moist potting soil, so we won't get a ton of settling, but we do want to water these as soon as we're done. That's the 4 that are going to go in our medium pot. And then in our smallest pot, which is, you know, somewhere around like an 8 or 9 inch diameter pot, I'm actually going to just take a little soil out. We really only have room for 1 plant. So for this sun kit, we have a fun Kufia lilac. Kufia is like a sort of Mexican heather is what they call it. So it has sort of a growth habit like a heather that you would see like a woody shrub, but in an annual. So it's very horizontal. It's a totally different plant than what we have in the rest of our pots, but it has the same sort of colors, got like a lavender pink color to it. So that's just a one and done. We're just going to let that guy bush out and fill out our pot. So here you already have all 3 of your containers done. Just don't forget to fertilize about every 2 weeks with a broad fertilizer, like a liquid fertilizer, and I usually do a half rate. So whatever the rate is on the label, I'll do a half rate, and I'll do it about every 2 weeks, which is a little bit more often than what they would tell you to. That way you don't get that feast and famine cycle. And you'll get the hang of, depending how much sun these are getting and how much exposure to wind, how often you'll need to water them. First couple of weeks, you'll sort of figure out a rhythm of how often you're going to need to water them. It's going to be more as the heat of summer sets in. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. So, happy planting!